Hello friends, welcome in my new lecture. In the last lecture, we have learned how to use this data validation to create this list. Now, what I want, let us first to do this centralized. So for a better formatting, right? So we have done this center and now I want to fill this column. But over here, I am going to teach you nested if. Nested if. That means that if there is one if, then we are going to use one above if. That means, let me say that there are multiple if we are going to use over here. So what I want, whenever it is written over here is D, then I want that status column must be filled with completed. Whenever the equation or the value of the J column is W, I want that work in progress. And whenever this column is C, that means it is closed. This value must be automatically fetched whenever we change this value, right? So what I will do, we are going to use this nested if command. So let me give you the syntax of if statement. Till now we have not used anywhere this if statement. So if you want to write any kind of equation, you have to first write this equal to sign. And I will teach you first basic using of if, and after that I will teach nested if, right? So first of all, write if and bracket open. So Excel will give you some tips. So you can use these tips for understanding. So they are telling that first is logical test, then value if true and value if false. That means that whenever J column is filled with D, what we want? We want that the task is completed. So user has to just input this J column and automatically this K column will be modified that we want. So here what we will do, if J2, in last lecture you have understood the using of J, right? So I want to log this column, not the row, because whenever we are going to copy this cell to below, we are going to change this row value, right? That is 2, 3, 4. So that's why currently I am going to log only J. So this means that J is logged by pressing F4 in the keyboard. So now if J2 is equal to 10, you have for specifically you have to use this sign for indicating that some text we are considering. So that's why A is equal to, if J2 is equal to D, we want to write that task is completed, right? And this close. But let me then again, what value if false, what we are going to write? Let's say I am going to blank this thing. So if J column will be D, then it will write completed, otherwise it will leave blank. So let us try this thing. So if I going to use W, then it is blank. But see, there is equation which is written. We are not going to edit anything over this column. Now if we are going to do C, then again it is showing blank. And if we are going to use D, then it is showing completed. But now what we want, that if J column is C, then we want to write closed. So this is the first if which we have used, and this task is completed. Now what if that this D is not D but it is a C or a W? So value if false, we are going to use again one if, right? So this is called as nested if. So again open and close bracket, and now we have to use again second syntax, that if this, again I want to log this J2 is equal to, let's say first I am taking this C, because for W I will use many more functions that I am going to teach you at the end of this lecture. So let us say J2 equal to C, then we want to write that the task is closed. But if this is also false, then we are going to use again if bracket open bracket close if, right? So this I have to use J logged equal to W. If value is true, then we want to write that work in progress, right? And if value is false, then we want to leave this blank. So under this sign you can use blank, otherwise you don't have to use any of this blank, otherwise it will consider as error, and press enter. So let us check is this correct or not. So by clicking W, that yes, it is showing work in progress, and by clicking C, it is showing closed, right? But for some more modification, what we are going to use, for proper attraction and focus of the user, we are going to use whenever the task is in work in progress condition, we want to calculate how many days are left. And we want that it must be shown in the status column, this column. So it is clear that whenever it is D, we want to directly write down this completed. If it is C, we want to directly close this task. And if it is want to W, it can be either work in progress if the target date is yet not matched. But if target date is passed, then it is must be written as overdue. So let us check what is today date. So what I taught you in my earlier lecture, by pressing today, you can consider this today date. Here I am considering that DDMMYYYY format, right? You can change this format from this, which I taught you in my earlier lecture. If you have not seen this format cell command, then just go to that lecture and understand first. So now today is 3rd May 2020. And what I want if the task is not, the date is not passed, then it must be calculate the day available, days left, right? So there is two conditions. If J2 is W, then I want to calculate days left. But there is one condition we are going to use, that target date is bigger than today. Then days will be left, right? So for the example, let me go back to this equation and I am going to change this date to 10th May, right? So now what I want over here is I want to use this two if equation. So I want to use that two statement. If, then whenever you want to use multiple type of query, you have to use if and code. So what it will do, let us give me example by this. So I am writing in new equation that then I will change this thing. So here I am going to use if and command, if and, right? Look, that means that you can use multiple logics, right? So this is showing us the syntax. So then our first is if this, not this, this. Again I want to log this sub, right? This equal to W, but we have to use this sign. And again and, that means we are merging these two equations. And second logic, that today is less than this target date. Okay, so what if value is true, what we want to type, days left, but we want to calculate also. So days left, then we have to use this AND function, and by pressing shift 7. So and we are merging these two things, that we are going to write two things at similar place. That one is days left, and we are going to calculate this how many days are left. So how we will calculate, that I taught you in my last lecture. This how many days will left, this again same thing, minus today. So this will write this days left, this will calculate this days left. I have already completed this AND code from here to here, and I am going to write this positive value of the if command. And what if the value is false? Then I want to write this. Let us leave blank for now, so you can understand this. So here is the magic. Before it was showing just days left, now it is showing days left 7. But now if the function is overdue, that means again I have to use this another if. So what I am going to write, if again and, because for the overdue we want to add equation, right? So if and again we have to use this nested if to if for merging this thing, or we can directly use over here this overdue. If the syntax is wrong, directly we can close it. So what will happen if the date is this, but today is 3rd May, so it will show you this overdue. So but here there is one loophole, that in every situation it will write overdue, but whenever nothing is there, see, it is writing overdue, but whenever nothing is there, we want that this cell must be blank. So for that again we have to use this again nested if. That means, let me delete this thing. So what it is showing, what if this full if will be raw. Then what we are going to use? And we are going to use, again there is one if. That means if and this is equal to W, this is equal to W, then is another. And another thing, which is another situation is today is more than or equal to, today is more than or equal to target date. It must be shown. That means and is over. Now again this syntax is changed by completing this, right? So if this is true, we want to write overdue, and if this is also closed, then we want to write blank. So this is closed, this is closed, right? Enter. Now see, if this is W, then it is showing overdue. Now I want to merge these two equations. Then what I will do, I will just copy from this to this, copy by pressing Ctrl C, and over here I am going to press this equation in the replace of this only. Why? Because if value is not D, then not completed. If it is not C, then not closed. But if it is W, so see, if and J3, but now I want to change this, not J3, it is J2, E2. Over here we also want to lock this E column, right? Here E2, right? Now over here it is J2, everywhere, wherever this 3, then again we will check this equation. So let us start with this. So whenever it is W and this is and, so this is and today is less than mark date, target date, then the day it must be considered this day is left. Let us give one space. So proper pattern will be there. Days left and it will calculate E2 minus today, right? It will calculate the number of days left and it will give as a result one numeric digit. Now if again there is and J2 is, now this is false. If this is false, then it will directly jump over here. Then it will calculate if and there is two functions, J2 is equal to W. But that means that this column must be, the value must be W. Then and then it will calculate overdue. But when, again one condition, today is more than or equal to E2, then it must be overdue, and otherwise it will leave blank. I will do enter. So let us D, then it is showing completed. Let us C, that means it is showing closed. But let us W, then it is not calculating this. We have used this code over here, so it is directly considering this third logic as a pass, right? But now I want to delete this thing, because we have already mentioned that if it is not closed, then directly jump to this which we have. Now it is calculating that how many days are left, 7. But when, if the date is passed, let us say 5th May 2020, so it is showing us overdue. So finally we have succeeded in nested if. So what you have learned, there is two things: nested if command, simple if, which you are going to use multiple ways in your daily life, if and command, right? So these are some basic functions you are learning, right, which you are going to use in your daily life. So again, this equation, let us delete this thing, let us delete this thing. See, when there is nothing value in this cell, it is directly emptying this cell, rather writing overdue. So that's why this last code is so much important for us, right? So now I want to drag this equation till our Excel and whenever the data is available. Though it is showing nothing value because of our equation, but there is some blank value right now. We don't want to edit this thing. So by just clicking this thing, you are going to use this magic, that whether the date is passed or not, how many days are left, you can use this thing for your life, that after using this data validation rule, automatically status will be get updated. So user has to just give this input. So what I am going to use, I am just highlighting this, that user has to input. So hope you understand this full lecture. If not, just again and again revise this thing, because there are multiple problems you are going to occur in your daily life. So that's why I will directly jumped in some complex way. and you can understand this nested if and all this thing. So see you soon in my next lecture. Thank you for this lecture.